And I'm waiting for your questions. Turn on your QGIS and let's practice. Are we together? All right, great. Thanks so much once again. Yeah, so if you just turn on your QGIS, you already have the data set like I mentioned. So I have mine. Um, and I've added it to my, it's a geo package. If you are familiar with geo package, all the data sets, points, lines, polygons, everything is packaged into one database. And this database can be shared with you and you can do whatever you want with it. It will not affect the person who has shared the data with you's data set because he's also having a separate database file with all the data sets sitting on his external drive and so on and so forth. So it doesn't. So now if you have this data set, you may want to add it as a new connection, right? You have downloaded it, perhaps it's in your downloads folder, but I have a specific folder location where I have saved this data set, right? So we would just basically create a new connection and I would look for this data set, which is just a single file containing the points, lines, polygons that we want to use, right? Um, Mind you, in this case, we are not generating data. We are not generating data. We are just, I assume we already have the expertise of generating the data on our own or from field work or from whatever sources that we can gather some data. I assume we have this skill, but the skill that I assume that is quite limited is the fact that we would perhaps need to create multiple maps within a couple of hours or days or within a limited time duration, right? And this is why we want to emphasize that this map making, the automated way, is the focus of this workshop, so such that you don't think, okay, then how did you create this data set and so on and so forth. If you have such kind of perhaps limited expertise, do raise that as a concern, and maybe I can show you how some of these data sets were created. Right. I just wanted to make that clear so we all understand that. So now I select my database, which I want to. So whenever I want to point out something clear to you, whenever someone shares data set with you, the first thing you have to look for is the extension that comes with this file or folder, whatever it may be. So if it's in a zip folder, you would find the dot, at the end of it, you would find the dot zip or zip. So if you find this, it means it's a zip file, but in this case, it is GPKG, and that means it's a geo package, right? So this is a geo package. Now we click on it because we wanted to establish a new connection. We already have it. So we click on it, and after clicking on it, what do? We open it, and when we open it, we would see this pop up. A connection with the same name already exists. Please provide a new name. This is beautiful because it has recognized that this same database that I'm trying to connect to already exists, meaning that I've already connected my QGIS to it. If I had not done that, then it will not prompt me with this kind of message. So if I still want to go ahead and import the same database, what I do is I will type a new name, perhaps new name, right? So if I type my new name and save it, you would see I have a new name. So now I should click the drop down just by my geo package to expand the geo package files, right? And now you can see this was a data set that I had in my folder. So if I show you my folder, I guess you can see my folder. So this is the package, right? Okay, so if you find this, you see this is the same QGIS geo package that I was trying to import, and then it notified me, it sent me a signal that this already exists in my geo packages database list. And for that matter, it did not want to overwrite it for me, but prompted me to enter a new name. And when I entered that new name, I now have this as new name. If I expand it, and then expand this one, so let me just show you. So you see that I have this sort of data set inside that, right? Yeah, so you see here the import actually interrupted this database and some of the fields are missing. If I so want to perhaps correct them, I need to go and import the vector layer dataset. But since we already have it as a new name, we will just continue with this new name. I assume that by this time, you should have also tried to locate your QGIS geo package file and try to add it like I did. Have you all done that? If you've done that, please just quickly respond yes, and we proceed. So now that I have my data sets in my database, what I can do is there are several options to load them. I'm quite sure we already understand. So for me, I prefer to just double click on it to bring my data set into my map canvas and my layers panel first. And it's shown here, the layer itself is shown here as well. So I have it as the district shapefile. So basically what I need to do is first, let me double click on it to open it. And then when I open it, I can just see the general properties of the data set. And what I'm interested in right now is the coordinate reference system. Always make sure when you are working with your data sets as a GIS person or professional, always check your CRS, your coordinate reference system. And you can see it's in World Geodetic Coordinate Reference System. And that means that it's in latitude and longitude. I cannot use this to make maps. When it comes to cartography, your maps must be, it's a standard. It's not my saying. It's a general standard. It's an international standard that for measured map making procedures, always make sure your CRS is projected, right? So that means if I want to further process this one, I have to project it, but I don't want to do this. And I can say no, this no. And you see, on the fly projection is already picked. Perhaps during my project creation, right? And you can always inspect your CRS in the status bar of the QGIS. So you see in the same database, I have this Ghana districts underscore proj, and that means it's projected. I can also right click on it and then go to layer properties. So if I open that, I see everything. I see it's now, the CRS is now in UTM reference system, correct? So since it's in UTM, I'm satisfied with this one. I'm not sure if you have this updated ones. So I can just basically double click again. And what do I want to add? Perhaps I want to add this one, which is the grids. And the grids, I can also do the same thing to inspect each of them. And the storage type is GeoPackage, UTF, blah, blah, blah. And we have also the UTM zone as well. This is good. And now, when I loaded that layer, the first Ghana layer, you see now that my projection, which was the on-the-fly projection in World Geodetic Coordinate Reference System, is now changed to the projected coordinate reference system, which is the UTM zone 30 for Ghana, right? So I am satisfied with that, and I also would put my lake, which is the Lake Volta in this case. So in your case, for example, if you are working in a city administration and you want to make maps for your city counties, you may be using your city counties instead of the grids. That is there. I would tell you more about why we created this kind of grids, right? So we have also places, which is also proj. So I would open places, proj, and we also have what we call the POIS, which is points of interest. Then I double click again, and I have everything now. I have all the things that I need to be able to make my map. Now, in order to proceed in QGIS, organization is also very, very important, right? So first, I would want to create groups for these layers that I just imported. And to create one, there's this button called Add Group button in the QGIS Layers panel. You just click on it, and then you have your group created. Now I have to give it a name that I want. And what name do I want? Maybe I can say main layers. It's just a proposition. I can change this anytime I want. Main layers. Why am I naming this main layers? I am naming it main layers because I want to also have another group for inset. If I say inset, I'm quite sure most of you GIS specialists know what an inset map is. And an inset map is basically a map which indicates the zoom area on a larger area. So on a small scale map, and then versus a large scale map. So the large scale map, which gives you a detailed overview of your study region or area, would have an association, for example, with Ghana. Ghana can be a small scale, and with this, we can use this inset for Ghana because we want to show on the small scale map where our study area, which is the large scale map, is extended from or extracted from, So basically, this is why I am following this procedure, right? So I would add all of them just by selecting them, drag and drop it in there, and then you have all of them in a group form. So if I turn the group off, you see all the layers are still turned on, but the group itself is off and you don't see anything. And this is beautiful. You can turn them off, on, when and however you want, right? Now I would add another group, but to add this group, perhaps I need to style these layers before I go ahead to style to create the inset map, right? So what do I do here? I would I first of all make sure this point is not down here. Perhaps it's also good to be on top of this. It's just organizational priorities. And you see, we have a lot of points here. This is not really good when you are doing detailed map production. Perhaps you may want to zoom into an area like this, for example, you may want to zoom into an area like this. Maybe you want to see even much detailed where exactly they are from and things like this, So this is why sometimes you may also need to regroup this kind of points in the symbology or using advanced analytical procedures. But like I mentioned, we are not doing advanced analytical procedures on this data because that is beyond the scope of this workshop. So basically, for the points of interest, I would just cluster them, so to say. So to cluster them, first, let me make sure the places are off so you can see it. I can also choose to um, rename the layers. So instead of just leave it this way, it doesn't make sense to anybody who picks my data or my project or my maps later on. It doesn't make sense to them. What does POI mean? POI can mean principal, something, something, I don't know, or police officer is in charge, something like this, I don't know. So to make sure I avoid that kind of confusion, I need to put the points, points of interest, right? And then I have it, it's done. Now places can make sense. It's a place. But for example, let's say that you are dealing with only towns. You may want to say towns, or you are dealing with only villages. For example, I can also open the attribute table, and then I show you some of the attributes that are available. So in this case, we have population, we have name, and then we have F class, which is feature class. This data set was actually extracted from or downloaded from OpenStreetMap. So it has this kind of attributes that OpenStreetMap data generally comes with, right? And the F class is perhaps the most interesting part if we are interested in a specific category of place data, place information. We may want to know if it's a city, if it's a farm, if it's a hamlet, if it's a village, if it's a town, and so on and so forth, right? And we can just select what we want, and that's it. For the places, I'll just leave it as places because it has several forms of places, so to call them. I'll just leave them this way, but I make sure the proj is no longer there, and I have it. For the lake volta, I do the same, rename layer, and also remove the proj, and also remove the underscore and put space there, right? So it makes sense. And for the grids, in this case, I would want to call it field, perhaps field something, project areas or field, you know, some of you, or survey areas. It could be surveyed areas. So survey areas, for example, or field areas, or field location. It can also be field location, right? So now that I have my field location, Ghana districts underscore proj doesn't really indicate that much. It has some irrelevant information. We also need to remove, and then we also need to perhaps make the D big one, and then right. For that part, it's done. Now we need to come back to the symbology itself. This was just basically reformatting or formatting the naming of our various layers. So we now double click on the points layer, points of interest layer, and then we see the symbology tab. Just click on it. Just to ask you, am I moving so fast? Is it enough for you to follow? Are you following correctly? If you have any issues, please raise your hand. I assume no. Right, so we are now on the points of interest layer. And like I mentioned, if you just click on the symbology tab or create some features symbology, if you just click on it, you first would see single symbology selected for you. When you click the drop down, you see there are several options for us. But in this case, like I said, I'm going to create point cluster for this. Point cluster simply means that if they are nearby points, then these points, the algorithm works in a way that there's a predefined distance that point should be closer to or closer, the closeness level, I think we call it nearness, right? The nearness level of this point. Based on the nearness level, then they can be considered as 1. And then you basically see a number. For example, if there are 10 points there, you will see this 10 there. But once you zoom into this location, you would see the points now emerging to their various positions. Until you zoom into the last point, then you would see a single point there. So that is the reason we want to use this, right? And then, like I said, the distance, which is now the nearness, it can also mean the tolerance, right? The tolerance distance is 3 meters in this case. If we want, we can increase this distance to maybe 10, 20, or even to meters or to the map units. So if our map units are in kilometers or they are in latitude, longitude, then this is basically what it's going to use, right, as our map units. But we can also use meters at scale. I'll leave it at I'll leave it at millimeters, and then I'll rather make the distance perhaps 15, right? Or I can also choose to make it 50, for example. And that means if I do 50, we should, and then I apply, you should see what we have. We have 57, 98, and then we have 109. I think 1094. And that means this tolerance is too much, right? This distance is too much for my, so I'll keep it at 5. If I do 5, now you should see the points are much more better and a little bit more distributed, right? So perhaps 5 is okay for me. I'll just accept it. It's okay. I'm not doing it for any government, so I don't care about how accurate it is. But when you are doing it for an applied project or for an official work, somebody has asked you to do such a project for him, please make sure it is very accurate. Accuracy is very important, and precision as well in the line of GIS and remote sensing, right? So now we are done with that, and I would say I'm satisfied with it. And then I turn on this one. You see how clustered this is, also. So here we may want to perhaps do something about it. We may do something about it, but I would just leave it that way. I don't want to do anything about it. I would come here then, and then I select, then I come to simple marker. You can choose any kind of markers at all that you want. But in this case, since their points are much more clustered, I mean, I have a lot of points. The points are densely, populated with over my study region. I'll just leave it this way, and then I make sure I try to improve perhaps the look a little bit. Oh my God. Perhaps is that my mouse? So I would want to see them maybe this way. Yeah, maybe. I think this is good. I don't know, but I think it's good. I think this is good, right? So I leave it that way. I'm not going to label them because if I label them, it will be terrible. So I leave it this way. If they weren't clustered, perhaps labeling them would be the best option. And depending on your grid size as well, your grid size also can determine that in your final product. But I will leave it this way. I think it's okay. And I'll go to the next part. And this part, I want to remove the fill. I mean, the color that's filling the hollow, the entire area. I don't want it to be there. So to do that, I leave it also as simple. I just want to keep the boundary outlined, which is in this case the frame, so to call it, or the borders, so to call it again. If I click here, you'll see here it has stroke width, and it's always called the stroke, not frame, nothing like that. It's always known as stroke in QGIS, stroke in QGIS. So I would now disable this one. To do that, since if your selection is on the first, make sure it's on the second so you can see the drop down properly. And once you get that, take the drop down and you would find transparent field, and that is what I want. It means it removes the color and just only leave the stroke for me. For the stroke, I would want to use red color. So I just select the red and you can see the preview is showing that red. I can also choose to increase the stroke width to perhaps 0.5, right? And 0.5 is okay for me. And then I click apply or just okay, and then you have it this way. Perfect, right? You may also want to use a different stroke color, maybe magenta or something of that nature. So you can simply, what's happening? I hate this. Okay, you can also choose that, and that's perfect for you, right? And then that part is also done. Now we want to look at this Ghana district. Just double click again, because we've been selecting this thing over and over, and since they are all layers in QGIS, they just simply take the first method that we applied. So we do same thing. In this case, I still want to keep this color. I don't want to remove the field color, but I want to change it to look something much more friendly, right? I want it to look, maybe I choose something like this, like, not so much deep. So I just copied the same color by putting your mouse cursor there and then drag and drop it into the stroke color, and they have the same color. But here I need to make sure the transparency is reduced. I don't want it to be too much for me, so it's a bit reduced. And then I make sure the stroke color is a bit darkened. Yeah, maybe this is okay, right? So I just click apply, and I have it this way, right? I don't want to label the district. I can also do that. Yeah, we can also just label our district and see how that will look in our final. So just click on the label feature button, and then you have there, and then we choose single label. We can also do rule-based label, and that is beyond the scope of this. And then I want to use the district name, which is the district name, and that's okay for me. If I do that, you see how this looks. Everything is in uppercase, but I don't want this. I want to make it look pretty fine. So I click the function button, and then when I click there, I come here inside the expression builder. Then I enter something like title, sorry, title, I believe this is title, because I am typing title to make each feature's first letter in a word. So if it has 3 words as its name, each of the words should have the first letter beginning as an uppercase and the rest as small letters or lower cases. So this is why I'm using this. And then you can also already see it's giving us a preview of what we are doing. If this is invalid, for example, maybe I still want to type something, this is invalid. It tells me it's invalid, right? And this is basically what you would be learning through. I believe this is useful for you, and you can now see the names are now in lower, upper, lower, upper, lower. Right. So if I zoom in, I am able to see the district, and so on and so forth. Basically, this is the first step, and we are done. Right. Now, the second step is to create our map layout. So to create the map layout, that's something we call print layout. I believe you can find this on your menu bar. If you cannot find it, please let us know, and then we can try to help you out. So if I click that, I would say QGIS Atlas, maybe. No, I don't want Atlas for special talents. I don't know, but it's okay. QGIS Atlas is fine. Now, if I click OK, you see I have it open. This gives me the default layout. If I want to change anything here, I can come to the layout properties, and then I can change a lot of things here, right? I can change a lot here, right? You can also right click to go to the page properties if you want it to be, what do we call it, to be landscape. This is already in landscape, it's fine for me. You can do that if you want it to be in another. You can do that if you want to have any, A1, A2, A6, blah, blah, a whole lot for you. You can also change the width. This is the default width. I'll just keep the default ones, but I'm just showing you the possibilities that you can use when you are creating your map, right? So this is okay for me. Now I need to look at my data sets again, right? So I think we are done with that part. I'll just increase this one. Now this is what we have. Yeah, so now this is what we have, and I want to perhaps put the districts here. You can also choose to have what we call, the base map. You can also choose to have a base map. So if I want to have a base map here, I'll just browse through so the kind of base map that I want to use, and I don't need to use the Ghana background layer, right? Yeah, but yeah, just to show you some possibilities that you may want to apply. But I'll keep mine this way. This is fine, right? Now I will, since I've just shown you that, I want to make sure all my points are displayed here, and then I go back to my print layout. Now that I'm here, I need to put my map here. So to do that, you either use this add map tool, or you go to add item, then you would see the same thing, add map. Then I will come here, maybe this place is fine. I can do it this way and see. Right, I have it. This is good. Now I have my print layout. There are a couple of things I need to do. I now have to change this to an Atlas configured layout, right? Atlas configured layout. I can choose to also make it extensive up to this part and so on and so forth, but I don't want to do this. Why? Because I still want to add the insert map, and I want to add some additional information, maybe our logo, Special Talents logo, maybe the author's name, maybe what the project is about, and so on and so forth. This is why I need to keep it small enough to have a lot of space for the rest of the information that I want to add. Right. So here, this is our map 1. Take note of this map 1. Now we have something that we call the atlas. You would see the atlas here in the menu bar. If you cannot see yours, it means it's not configured. So you have to go to view, right? you go to view, and then you go to panels, and then you'll find Atlas there, right? If you go to panels, then you will find it. View, panels, then you'll find Atlas down there. And then you check the box. If you check it, you will now have it there. It's also here in the panel here, right? So we can also check it there. So I have to select the map that I want to enable it on. And then I say generate an Atlas, right? So I'm generating my Atlas now, and this is now configured with my Atlas, but not complete. I have to use what we call the coverage layer. The coverage layer, and this is why I created the grids. What the coverage layer does is it enables this atlas to zoom into the specific location or the boundary from which you want to show much more information to your audience, right? So each of the boxes here is basically what we want to zoom into to show the user. In this kind of box, you would be able to find such kind of information. It's about this information, or this is how the information is spread, across each field location, right? So I'll select the field location. Remember, we created field location. I select that one, and then that is it. I can also choose to hide it, and if I refresh, it should not done yet. So we have to also select which particular field do we want to use as our page name. So you may choose to use for the page name, they may be county names, they may be regional names, they may be district names, or your field locations that have associated numbers to them. So you use this as your field numbers. So I'll use the grid number, which is my field number in this case. Once I do that, I'm done. I want to also sort it. So I check this one and I use the field, the grid field. If you don't sort it, there's no problem. You still get your output, but they may be randomly generated for you. So I want this one. You can also choose to have it if you want to have single output for all of the maps that you'll be generating. Then yeah, you can also check this output here. You can also uncheck this one, and then you try to label it. If you leave it this way, it puts an output, and then it puts the Atlas feature number for you. And this will be so much ambiguous that you will be unable to distinguish. For example, if you want to quickly show someone what each district, what has happened, it will be difficult to understand that. But in this case, I'll just keep it as single one, because at the end of the day, I want us to have a PDF file. Right. So now this is done. I can say it's done. But you see, you are not seeing anything. Nothing has changed on this one. To see an overview, a preview of that, I can use the preview one. So I can just click on it. If you see that now, you see the preview. When I check the hidden coverage layer, you don't see that anymore, right? So I refresh, and then when I say go to next one, you don't see anything happening. And why is it not happening? Because it's not yet finished configuring. What we need to do is to come to the item properties. When we come there, there's an option or a button that we need to check. If you scroll down after your extents, you see there are a list of options there. Check the controlled by Atlas checkbox. If you check it, now you see automatically zooms into the area, and then we have much more better information or detailed information for us. Here it's showing 2 of 2, 3 of 3, 4 of 4. What this simply means is that this is the page 3 of 3 page that you are seeing. This is the page 3 that you are basically seeing. That is what it is telling you, right? Yeah. So it's configured now, and we are satisfied. If you are not satisfied, maybe you still want to see your field boundaries. So you are sure this is actually correct. You can enable this one and then you can see your field boundary. For each of them, you would see the boundaries, right? This is basically what you would need to understand for this particular use case. But I would choose to not see them. I don't want to see them. I want to hide them. So they are like this. Once you are done with that, scroll down again in your item properties, then make sure your frame is checked. I don't want to choose anything. The color is already black. It's fine. Yeah, so when it comes to now having what we need, we have all that we need for this map. What I will do now is to lock it so that when I go back to create my insert, which we would place somewhere here, I can also decide to extend this much further, maybe this way or even this way, right? That's so up to me. That's fine. I would want to have a scale of, this is 66, 660. So I would choose to have 700,000 scale, right? 700,000. This is okay for me. You can also choose to say, no, 700,000 is not for me, maybe 500,000, but I like 700,000. And that's enough there, 700,000. Then I come back now to lock that. So you see here under layers in your items properties, check the lock layers and also check that box by the lock styles for layers box. Check it. Make sure it's checked. So it doesn't change, whatever you go back to do in your QGIS canvas, it doesn't affect your print layout. Otherwise, the layer styles and things that you add on the main canvas would be affected. It will automatically refresh here. And that is not what we want. That is why we are locking them. Right. Now we have that. So what I want to have again is to have the insert map. I can right click in my layers panel, any empty place, not on a layer, and say add group, or I can use the same add group button there, and then I add. So I'll just call this one insert, right? So here I want to duplicate, I want to duplicate this Ghana layer, and I want to also duplicate the field layer. So duplicate, where are you? Okay, now these two, I want to move them now to the insert area. Put it inside it, right? And then I can turn the rest off. Here we still have the same style, and this is beautiful. We like it so much. And since we have that one, what do we do? All right, I assume nobody has a question. So now you see that we still have the labels here. It will be clustered when we go to the insert because we want to have it small. So to do away with that, before we go to that part, the naming, we want to also make sure we edit them. So rename, always remember your rename. Oh, come. Yeah, rename. So the copy, I'll remove it. Maybe it's a good idea to put insert, so to avoid some confusion, right? And then I put here, it's not required, right? It's not required to put insert there. It's not required, please. So yeah, just do this again, remove this one, and then put again insert. Yeah, so perfect. Now we want to remove the labels for the districts. We don't want to see any labels for the districts. So I'll just come here and then turn this off, labels off, go away. Now we have it, right? So now that we have what we wanted, what do we need to do? We need to go back to our print layout. And when we come back to our print layout, we have the option again to add a new map. So we add map 2. If I click on add map, and then I come here to add, right? Add. Maybe I stop here. See, we have everything. Same map there, but with the insert components. I can choose this here. You see, just below the select or move item button, there's this move item content, meaning what is inside that item, move that. So that is what I want to move. I want to move what is inside here, not the entire map, including the each frame, right? So I'll reduce this one, right? So you see that districts, we could also add, I think what we have not done, and we were supposed to have done that before, is the river. Nobody knows what this is about, the lake, right? We were supposed to make it, maybe it escaped me because I was looking at the time also. It's required that water bodies are always shown as blue. It's a standard. It's not my making, right? So they are always required to be shown as blue. But in this case, it's just a training. We can also go back and make sure we do everything right. And how do we do that? I just want to show you quickly. Right. Yeah. Here we are back. I'll turn this off, turn this on again, and then we still have everything in touch. And what do? Double click, go to symbology, click here again on the simple field. We still want the field to be there. And then we want to have something like this. Maybe we change the boundaries, and the boundaries, perhaps we can make the boundaries a little bit darker. Yeah, a little bit darker. Maybe we can also choose to reduce this a little bit, and then perfect. Now we have our water bodies, right? We can also choose to duplicate this one for duplicates. Yeah, for the insert as well. That I will leave it just like that. Nothing just like that is fine. Right. Now note something. If we want our field boundaries to appear on the river, then we have to do it this way. Right. Okay. And then also here. That way. Perfect. Now we have everything set up again. We go to our print, and you see, like I was saying, it's automatically updated. But in this case, we want to unlock this layer now. We want to unlock this one so we can update the information that we have. So to unlock it, just uncheck this once, and we have our information updated again. Right. I believe this was what we were looking for, right? Now, since it's done, log them again quickly, go back, then go back to your QGIS, then simply check this one. We have everything like that. Come back here and click the refresh, and then you see it's done. This is what we wanted. I think one layer is not visible yet because it wasn't checked. So if I do that, come here, refresh, you see our river is there. Now, since we have this, what do? We click on it. Make sure you go to scroll down. You would find insert overviews. So overviews, then add an overview. And from what do we want to add this as an overview? We want to add from the map 1. And from the map 1, you will see where we are right now. We are on the 5th one. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are on the 5th one. If I move now to 6, you'll find it's moving to 6. If I move now to 7, it moves to the last one. If I move back to the first, you see it's now on 1. And this is basically what I wanted to show you. Now, what additional information do we need? So we can now say we want to lock that one also, even though it's not required. So we can also lock it, and that is done. We can also now choose to add a frame to it. Perfect. Now, what is missing is now labels and then the legend. So we add perhaps a legend here somewhere, right? We have the legend, but the insert part, we don't want the insert part. So since we don't want it, and we want to have, what we want to have? We want to have the legend name. So legend, I don't know, does it make sense? Yeah, this is okay. You can do anything, time is going very fast, and I think I don't need to spend such much time. I would uncheck the auto update button, and then I remove the entire insert part. I don't need that, right? I can also choose to have a frame for it, and then you can see the frame nicely placed there, maybe close a little, and then we now add our north arrow, put north arrow just below it. And what arrow do we want to choose? You can choose any, but perhaps I choose this one. This is okay for me. Now field color, I want it to have a color similar to spatial talents. So I'll come to, okay. One of the colors of spatial talents, I think is this one. Not quite sure, but yeah, a little bit darker. This is okay. This is beautiful. I can also reduce it a little bit so I can have more room for other stuff. Now I would add a picture, spatial talents logo. So add a picture. It doesn't matter how big. Then come to choose raster. Go to browse to your file. I'll choose spatial talents logo, and there you have it. One thing I also need to add is a title. We haven't gotten our title. So I would say field location, field location, right? So field location, maybe I want to indicate the number of the field locate, the specific field location to show the number as the districts, move. So I would say instead of just field location, I would say field location ID, right? And then we can add it here. So to add that, make it coincide with the specific number, we click on that expression button instead of edit, and then I come to fields and values. The fields and values, I want to use the grid number. Remember that? The grid number. And that's it. Just double click on it and that's it. Perfect. Now you see we are on grid number 1. So I need to format this. The font needs to be a little bit good. It needs to look good. And to do that, I want it to be bold, right? Yeah, so perhaps I can also change it to look a little bit weird, or make it look a little bit sans serifs, or a little bit of, it doesn't matter. I'll keep it that way, that's fine. So instead of points, I want it to be in millimeters as well. And you can see it's looking good. And what else do we have to do? I think this is okay. What I would want to add is to make sure, scroll down, the alignment. I want it to be center, be aligned centered, and then vertically aligned, also centered, and that is done. I want it to also have a good frame, and I want to drop some background color. And the background color, I like spatial talents a lot, so I try to use colors that match spatial talents works. This is too much. I want to reduce this a little bit more. Yep, this is okay. Perfect. Now it's good. It looks good for me. I don't know if it looks good for you, but yeah, for me it's okay. So I just need to align them, realign them again. Then I copy this one, copy this, paste, and then we will say this I don't need. I will say maybe Ghana. I want to just have Ghana here. I love Ghana. Yeah, I love Ghana. Right, so I have Ghana here. Make sure it's also, so you see it's using the same kind of information that we had. We can also add the scale. That is the last thing that we need to add. The scale bar, either we use the scale bar or whatever. I want to use the scale bar. Then in the scale bar, we can also come here. Instead of single, we can also choose line text middle. And then we go instead of kilometers, we can also choose any we want to use. I leave it at kilometers, it's fine by me. It's not a requirement. And then I want to have one also section or segment before the 0. Then the units, you can also use either fixed units or you can also change. And then you see the scale it's adjust to fit a little bit well with your workflow, so to call it. Yeah. So yeah, this is basically cartography. This is basically map making, and you have something beautiful to show your audience. Um, if you want to also show the scale as what we indicated, which is this one, you know, it was 700,000. I don't know why it likes to go back to, yeah, maybe I did something, I don't know. So yeah, I'll just come here, put a number and say um, one, oh, 1:700,000, correct? Yeah, beautiful. Now, just try to increase the fonts. I still use millimeters. I like millimeters a lot, but I reduce this one just so people can see. Yeah, I can also put some spaces here, maybe another space here, so that, yeah, it looks a little bit okay. Right. So here, we can also choose to add the author information. You can also do it much easy. So I will say author of this is spatial talents, maybe Abdul, spatial talents. I like spatial talents a lot, right? So we just put it there like that. And then here we will say author, then perfect. Now, this is good. Like this one, this is the final version. You can add as much information as you want. This is okay. Now we are done with our map. Are we satisfied? Are we happy? Are we able to do something like this? We have our map. Now what do we do? If I go to this, I have it. This, I have, and then I have. Right. So I come back to the first. It doesn't matter wherever you are in this process, but I can just come to export it as a PDF because I'm done. There's nothing to do again. I'll come here. If you want to add more information, it's up to you, but I'm done. I'm satisfied with this. So go to the export. You would find this image there. And then you go to, if you don't find it, then go to Atlas. Then you will find export as PDF. Export Atlas as PDF. I want to export it as PDF. It shows me where I should. I'm satisfied with this location. I'm not changing it. You can change it, navigate to wherever you want to save yours. That's fine, where you can find it later. And now you have this window pop up so you can further check things. Yeah, if you want to check things, you like checking things like I do. Yeah, you also can check it. It is lossy, meaning it's going to be this. The resolution is going to be affected in this case, but I want it to be lossless. So I don't want it to. Lossy means it would affect the resolution of the images that are going to be embedded in the PDF document, basically. So when you zoom into an area, you begin to see the pixelation, right? But I don't really want that, even though it's still going to get me some pixelated information, but that's not a problem for the lossless for me. So I just click OK and check the open file after export option, and that's it. Exporting is done. It says it's done. So since it's done, I'll just click here to open it. Then we all see it. You see it's now a single PDF file for me. And then when I double click it, it should open the atlas for all of us to see. And then when you look at the atlas, this is what I have for field ID 1, for field ID 2, for field ID 3, for field ID 4, 5, 6, and then 7, the last one. And this has been what we've been asking you guys to come to learn from us. Thank you so much for your participation, and I hope you really enjoyed the session. Please let me know if you have any questions.